Well, I'm Harold Popp. I'm in my 56th year of teaching, and of all of the courses I've taught, this is the course that is the most rewarding, the most meaningful for me. I developed the course several years ago, and my initial impetus for doing it is it was the kind of course I always wanted in all of my coursework, and I never had. I was interested in understanding more about the creative process. I've always felt that the process itself was more important than the product. I've seen a lot of changes in education. I've seen changes, cultural changes. I've seen changes in students. But there's one thing that is consistent all the way through. Every student, every person actually, I encounter is looking for meaning in life. And so often they have no idea what they are as a potential creative being. And so many of them I see do not have a reason to know what their voice is or can be. And I have found that as they begin to discover, they find out more about themselves. There's a depth. They don't have to live at a superficial level. They don't have to be a clone of anybody else. They are who they are. And it's just been tremendously rewarding to see this occur.
I'm Emma Sappington. I'm an arts management major at IU.
All right, my name's Adam. I'm a biochemistry major.
My name's Maddie Fournier. I'm majoring in economic consulting and business analytics.
All right, I'm Andrew Marr, and my major is arts management. I'm a senior.
Hi, I'm Catherine Wang. Actually, my real name, my Chinese name is Xinyu Wang. My major is public financial management at SPIA.
So my name is Dahlia Erkman, and I am an information systems major in the Kelley School of Business. So I do like computer and science and business all kind of put together in one.
My name is Cole Anderson, and I'm studying arts management through SPIA.
My name is Jacob Houston. I'm a senior at IU studying chemistry.
I'm Victoria, and I'm a HARP major. When I started this class, I was undecided as to what my major would be. I was thinking about communications or English or something non-music, but I have since decided that my passions really are with the arts.
Aubrey Motherwell. I'm doing in arts management.
Yeah, okay, so full name is Chaz Ochenti, and I study entrepreneurship and corporate innovation, as well as international business at the Kelley School of Business.
Okay. I'm Kelsey Vondro, and I'm a senior studying English and Spanish.
My name is Julia Ponella. I'm getting a bachelor's degree in classical guitar with an outside field of musical theater.
Okay, I'm Emily Tucker. I'm studying arts management with a concentration on the music industry.
I'm Li Han Su. I'm studying finance in Kelley, and yeah, that's basically what I do on campus. I love my major.
I honestly had no idea what I was getting myself into.
I don't know, it seemed like one of those classes where it was like open to subjectivity, so you could just kind of, just be open, and just be honest, I guess. Yeah, it's like some of the most honest, like writing I've ever done, and whatnot, and it's cool.
I think I find myself in like a creative rut sometimes, like even when I'm not doing important things like playing a game or something that requires creativity, like I have a hard time like generating ideas when I do that. My major doesn't have me apply creativity a lot because the science major is kind of skewed, but I think when I'm like playing the guitar or trying to write lyrics for a song or something, or playing a game, or even like playing sports or something, my creativity is kind of limited. So this class has really helped me with that, and I kind of wanted it too when I took it. So
yeah, I was like, that sounds awesome, because I guess it was a little ambiguous as to what would be taught, but it's actually been pretty close to what I expected as far as just the basis of individuality within it, that focus on creativity, which I very much appreciate.
A friend of mine, she just like, oh, the professor is really nice. We talk about a lot of interesting stuff about music, about art, basically all stuff, and about creativity. And she said, I can give you the book if you're really interested in that. I was like, yeah, why not? Yeah, so.
I thought it'd be like, it's not one of those normal core classes. Creativity is kind of one of those more abstract things, and I'm more of an artsy person. Yeah, it's been probably better than I expected.
I took it because I wanted to learn more about creativity. I do a lot of creative work outside of school. I do improv on the side, and creativity is obviously the basis of improv, and it's all about thinking off the top of your head and thinking outside of the box. So I wanted to be able to capitalize on that.
Or discovering the creative impulse, because I really like the title, Discovering Your Creative Impulse. Because I felt like when I was a kid, I was so much more creative. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna be an astronaut, and then I was like, no, actually I want to be an author. And I used to read books. I could go through a book so fast. I was constantly reading. I was so like into playing the violin, and then as I got older, it kind of like started dying off. And so I was like, you know what? I think this class is really interesting. I definitely need help discovering that impulse to bring me back. I could take another, like I've already taken the Beatles class, I could take the Beach Boys class, but I was like, yeah, I think this is something that would stick with me even longer, and that's why I kind of took it.
Or when I first found it, there wasn't a description on Canvas for it, and so I emailed Dr. Popp and just asked him what it was about, and he gave a very genuine answer, and it was like, it's just all about discovering your creative, like, genuine being. And I was like, okay, this sounds so cool. So yeah, this was probably one of the classes that I was most excited about for this semester.
Oh, I don't think it was what I was expecting at all. I mean, well, when you go to college, you just expect like the normal college classes, and this is 10 times different than any other class I've taken, so not really what I was expecting, but it's good. It's a good unexpected thing. Good surprise.
When you take college classes now, you take college classes. You go to a lecture hall. You do your paper this way. It's very structured. I don't know. I guess it gives you a little room to like actually be yourself and be true to who you are.
One of the really exciting things is no two classes are the same. I have a different set of people. They all have different encounter with the arts and creativity prior to coming to the class. And one of the things that I have to establish in the class immediately is that that's going to be a strength of this class. And we're going to develop that personality in this class.
Oh, it's really relaxed, I would say chill, but interesting. Your mind is moving, but it's not like aggressively hard work, ethic stuff. But yeah, like you get to explore your mind and get to know. Professor Popp get a lot of like interesting information, like background, and like every piece of sentence he talk about, like you get to know something.
One of the things that I talked to the class about on the first day, trying to establish a few guidelines, for the class, is we aren't really interested in evaluative responses, more descriptive responses. I'm not interested in you saying, hey, my 2-year-old brother could paint that. That didn't get us anywhere. Yes, I tell the students, I hope by the time we're through the semester, you really don't know what music I like, what art I like, whether I like a particular poet or not, because that's not important. We explore all these things. We're open to seeing that an artist, whatever the medium is expressing themselves in a particular way. Now I can look at that, and if it has value for me, fine, I can assimilate that into my own thinking. If not, that's fine too. I'm not interested in us saying, okay, this is good, that comes back to that comparison. Okay, this student did a good job, and this one, you weren't very good today. Yeah, what? That has nothing to do with me trying to find out who I am. and I don't want to suppress that. So that's what I'm talking about. Be open to possibility. Take risks. Those are such important aspects of creativity. Okay, we're going to start this particular class with a little bit of you using your well-developed imaginations. Now, as you know, I love to throw out ambiguous questions, so you can take them anywhere you want to go. And one of the students said that they were really enjoyed the fact that you didn't have to have hard and fast, exactly the same right answer all the time. Because that's not what this is all about.
You don't really have a wrong answer. Or like when we turn in work, it's not like this is wrong or anything. So it's like very new to me that you don't get like graded based on right and wrong, and it's more like just everything what you say is valid.
Professor Popp and you didn't like say, no, you look at the book, you will find the answer. But in the academic way, there's a certain thing you have to know, but actually your thinking and the academic thinking can be combined. Actually, the same thing, but just different version of saying.
Yeah, give me confidence to spill out what I'm thinking. Maybe that's not right, but you have the opportunity to say it. It's better than not. Yeah, I found the confidence during this process. So I think after this class, I was more confident to speak of my mind.
I really expect them to allow themselves a degree of vulnerability. And if I want them to allow themselves that vulnerability, I have to be very accepting. I write comments on their papers in green, not red. Red is threatening. I don't put grades on their papers, but I expect them to do all of the things that I ask them to do, and some of those exercises are a little bit off the wall.
Just the creative exercises we've done in class where you're like drawing a picture, coming up with a story have kind of surprised me. And I actually do think I do get out ideas faster now than I did before.
But one of the first ones, I have a list of 8 words that I made up. And I have them write a definition of them. Is it a verb? Is it a noun? And then write a sentence. Right away, they are dealing with something that has no right answer. Right away, they can see that I want them to use a little bit of imagination.
Where we just had made up words and we got to just write down made up definitions. And I actually use some of them. Like, I keep like thinking they're real, but like so the one that I probably use the most is the made up word is trilagster. And I thought it was a noun, and it was the person who doesn't want to participate in the games, they just want to watch and have fun doing that.
One of the first projects was express however you want to express one of these prompts, and I chose flying without wings, and then I made a playlist for it, and I thought that was fun.
All of a sudden they're realizing that they're in a different kind of a setting, that what they say, as long as it's from a place of integrity, of honesty, is going to be acceptable.
Something that I really appreciate is that there aren't any hard deadlines in the class. We're encouraged to just get it done when we can. Obviously, we have to get it done, but if we aren't inspired to finish it or don't really feel like we've engaged with a topic, we can like have that time, that incubation period where we can just think about what we want to say, really engage with the subject matter, really get the chance to be inspired and to actually write something that's worthwhile and that can mean something to us.
I really like also how the class, you can submit the assignments like whenever really, and I really enjoy that because sometimes it'll take me longer to get one out because I wasn't in the right mindset like that week. Like, it was so busy, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to give the time I want to it. It's not just like, oh, submit it, get the check mark, like you completed it. I really like to put out work that, like, again, like it's something that I can relax and do. It's something that I can be proud of and like I can enjoy and I can have fun doing. I don't want to force it. I don't want that check mark.
I feel like by the next class I'm ready to answer that and also give a sincere, full response. But it is nice for the longer ones or more thought-provoking ones that we do have the leeway that if I'm just like, I'm so not in the zone to do something authentic to respond to this, that you can come back to it.
Yeah.
Are we writing this for next time?
Oh, you write it for whenever you get it done. Most of the exercises I've devised because I want them to do a certain kind of thing.
But it's kind of fun because like when he's like, all right, write down. I'm gonna say a word and write down 4 words that come to mind. So you don't really know what to expect. So it's really just the first thing you're thinking of. And sometimes it can happen in a second where you just think too hard about it. You're like, oh no, and you lose the true what you really thought.
And I'll read these. I don't just say, well, go to such and such a page and do that. That has no interaction with the students, with me, or with themselves. If I do it the way I do it, reading, they have to do, they again are working with themselves on thinking about, think of a color. Okay. Think of an object with that color. And I'll put space between these. Think of a movement with that object. A setting, whatever. And by the time I get through about 4 or 5 of these kinds of things, and then I'll say to them, what you have now is the basis for writing a poem, drawing a picture, putting together a piece of music. So I get them to that point. They don't even know where they're going when I start this process. But it works out great.
Pick out a color. I chose lavender. We had to pick out something that was of that color, and I actually have a lavender plant in a lavender pot, so that's what came to my mind. And it was like, put it in a place, and it actually sits in my bedroom windowsill. And then it said give movement to it, and I thought that was, whenever I picture that lavender plant and its lavender pot on my windowsill, the only movement that ever comes to it is when I open up the window and like the breeze will like come through. Just give it a time, and I thought the time of day I chose was early morning, and then I currently live alone, and so like that's where like the present state of like living alone for like the first time, and so then we had to write some words about it. So I kind of try to do a little bit of prose, but these were my feelings, and a lot of it is about like living alone and about this lavender plant. And so I wrote, is this feeling loneliness? Have I matured? Or am I becoming humble? Is this how I'm gonna feel the rest of my life? I ponder this and more while watching the early morning breeze getting caught in the leaves of my lavender plant. Dancing, halting, rustling, pausing. The pattern of life continues on as I dwell on the little things. And so those are my early morning thoughts on my lavender plant and its lavender pot.
I picked an elephant, and I picked Times Square, New York, during rush hour. No, I think it was actually New Year's Eve, I think. So it'd be super crazy. There's no like rhyme or reason in the moment, and there really isn't in the end either. But in the moment, there definitely isn't. So you're just kind of like, you have that free, the no boundaries thing, and then he tells you, no, with all that stuff that you just said, put it into one thing, and you get something random. So that's fun because I think that does help with creativity, like working on it, because you would never come up with that. And now, that's part of my history, and now I have that in the back of my head, so now maybe down the road, that'll come back.
When I think about creativity, I guess, I always consider it to be like more about the arts, and I guess the class is about the arts, but it's easy to apply it to so many different things. It's kind of amazing how many different applications there are, so I guess that's been the most surprising thing.
Because there are a lot of aspects that I hadn't really thought of before. I guess I thought of it more individually based as opposed to thinking of how it's a part of everybody's mind and everybody's capability. I mean, I suppose that seems almost obvious when you think about it, but thinking of it more as just inherent to how our minds are capable of working has still changed my perspective of creativity a lot at the same time.
I think I've just surprised myself with how I've thought more about creativeness, I would say. Just because, I don't know, since coming to college, it's just, you take classes that you don't find yourself being too creative in, I feel like. My other classes, they're just straightforward, like just take a bunch of tests.
Before, I viewed creativity as something you have to kind of pull out of yourself but now I feel like it's almost something that's always there, but you just have to let it reveal itself, which is cool. And I definitely feel like I've been able to channel that a lot more through taking this class, so it's been cool.
But that's why I never want the class to be more than 15, 20 people, because then there's no interchange.
Well, I like the size of the class. I think it's nice that it's so small and everybody kind of participates. I feel like you don't find that very often with like everybody being willing to speak. But I think because he makes it so casual and just inviting and open and like there's no wrong answers, then everybody feels a little more comfortable.
And I feel like I talk more in this class than my other classes, which is good, because I do have a fear of like being wrong when I answer questions. So just being in this class and being able to not feel like I'm wrong about anything is really nice.
I think the discussion is really good. I feel really good to like spill out why I'm thinking my questions of. That just helped me to learn because Professor Popp can answer the question.
I think when it comes to creativity, it can be a little intimidating to try to describe a lot of the things in this class because they're so broad and there's so many different answers. But earlier, it's not about choosing the best answer, it's about choosing an answer and then formulating the best answer through what your classmate builds on, and that's brainstorming, and that's discussion in class. So whenever he asks such an open-ended question and he wants to know our thoughts, I just say the first thing that comes to my mind, and then that sparks somebody else's experiences, and so then we can form what the meaning of the poem is together. And so not everything has to be formulated into a perfect paragraph.
People just kind of build off what someone says, because you might say maybe not even what you meant, but like a word triggered something in their mind that made them think, oh, how about this? And it works. So it's like, just everyone has a little piece, and you might not know where it comes from, but it all works together.
You take a concept like in the arts, there are many times you don't choose what you're going to create, it chooses you. Boy, that's wonderful fodder for a discussion. And it's like, what? But those kinds of comments get them thinking in ways they never even thought it was possible.
Reflecting on what we just talked about does give an answer for that, just in ways I never expected.
And like arts, and I think in music especially, like when we talk about this, but everything's very derivative. Like you can't say like it's all original, because it's not. It's like you're affected by the movies you watch, the music you listen to, you know, the video games you play. Like it's totally like everything affects. It's like a big domino effect of just culture and art.
I also think it's cool when Professor Popp talks about how some people like hear music in their head, and I never noticed it before, and it was like so unconscious to me, but now I'm like, oh yeah, there it is.
Look at it for a minute and tell me what you see. Describe what is in this painting.
This course still has exposing to different art forms or like combinations of art forms.
Shoes. A pair of them even. Guess what the name of the work is? A pair of shoes. But what's in that's what you see there. But what's in the artwork itself? What do you see in the work itself?
I like all the different styles of art that we get to look at. I've never been, in my opinion, I've never been super like artistic person or something. So it's cool that people can use their experience and like portray it in so many different ways. Like,
well, let me take the word you said, boring. Do you think that, in a sense, then maybe these shoes are an indication of the kind of life that particular person?
For sure. I'm not really that much of a philosophical person, but I think I'm becoming more so of one. But
then we begin talking about the unconscious and conscious self. Will is a part of the conscious, not the unconscious. It's not something of being frustrated because you've got what we call, in a very general way, writer's block. It's not that. It's that sometimes these things you sit in turmoil with them.
Sometimes when I'm trying to focus on something super hard, I can't think of anything. It's, when you get a blank page in front of you and you're just told to write something. There's nothing more overwhelming in the world than that. And so just the idea that we can set it aside, and then when we're inspired, or we can go back to it, or we can do something else, and then just get, this thing, yeah, I totally remember this. Now I feel like I can do it. It just takes off the pressure, and it really helps with being able to actually complete the assignment.
My sense of what I can do or what I can't do, or becoming discouraged because I can't think of anything, whatever, but you keep working at it. You keep working at it, and you begin to manipulate and turn some of these ideas around in your mind, and it's incredible what you can come up with. I have seen too many examples, actually, of people who have been pushed down, who have been squelched, and don't believe in themselves. That's unfortunate, but that kind of thing happens time after time.
I think creativity is the understanding of myself or the people oneself, because there are a lot of things to define like achievements, and often people connect the achievement with creativity. But if a person can realize who he or she is, and what they really want to do, what they can do, and how they can do all the things they wanted, is creative. It's a real creative in my mind.
The creative arts, or creating anything, or creative thinking, has to involve a sense of freedom.
Freedom is so liberating, because I've been able to do on the same assignment that I'm assigned to like analyze a poem or something like that. I can still like doodle on the side and draw like just whatever comes to my mind. It's like you don't get to do that ever.
Meaning to be found in an artwork by an individual cannot be legislated. Cannot be legislated. What does that mean to you? Somebody that hasn't. Yeah, Kelsey.
It means it can't really be dictated to us by someone else, or necessarily regulated by someone else's set of beliefs. It's subjective to how we perceive it.
I think that's great. That's the way it should be. And that's one of the things that I want all of you to always believe in. If you're going to be really who you are. It doesn't make any difference whether it's in mathematics, whether it's in business, or whatever. As I show them how these people are thinking about the process, their understanding, their awareness of what potentially can be a part of their own process becomes clearer. It's more of a looking at things and see if exploring that particular mode of expression does nothing for me, that's fine. If this has something of interest, something with which I can identify, then I can assimilate that into my own way of thinking. Every artistic, I don't care what the medium is, artwork, let's call it for that, is a result of the way that particular artist looks at reality.
Yeah, I think it's fun focusing on like our own unique individuality and being able to express that and kind of find that in the classroom setting.
I think in everybody's learning style, being creative in how you learn is key, because once you know how you learn, and if you can get creative with it to the point that you can make learning enjoyable for yourself, that really helps. Like using my creative ability to learn more about how I learn and applying that to my studies has really helped inside.
But I try to draw on what they've said, see what's important to them, and then give them an avenue. And time after time, students have said to me, I never knew I could do this. I never thought of it that way. So they begin to see how those kinds of elements are part of their process, however it works for them. Isn't it amazing? The one thing that ties all of the creative arts together is the creative process, which, ironically, is totally different for every individual.
And so that's one thing that this class really helped me with, is just seeing like even different people from like different fields and different backgrounds and different cultures and everything can all use creativity for like different things, like all their different sets of skills. Creativity applies to every different thing. And so this class helped me a lot with discovering how I really am a creative individual, and I can apply that to whether it's in music or dance or choreography or math or science or whatever it is that I happen to be doing. I can apply creativity to all these different things.
I only ever thought about like music as a creative outlet for myself, but I've kind of like found writing to be really fun. And it's fun to make up stories too. But it's hard too, because it's hard to find the time.
I think the writing assignments have really introduced me to my creative writing style, because I feel like I don't usually write creatively, or I don't just usually write in general, but I really like to do it. So I think they've kind of given me an excuse to, or a reason to do it.
Based. Like I have to be in the right environment in order to create. So for me, it's just putting myself in the right spot and having something to say, and then being in a place where I can be inspired to say it.
Probably my favorite thing that we've looked at in class or read, it would be Van Gogh's letters, specifically when he was talking about the caged bird analogy, where a caged bird is fed and given water, and it has everything that is necessary for life, but there's something missing. It's not able to really truly live life because it's in a cage. It only has the necessity. That's sort of how I see like my exploration of creativity, finding my own creative voice.
It does not have to be a masterpiece. It has to be something that you find working with yourself, that you have an inner self that's far deeper, that plumbs to a depth that you never knew you had. And they begin to explore things, they try out things, and there's this mediation between who they thought they were and who they are beginning to see they can be. How can anything be more exciting than that?
In the sense of being collaborative sometimes with other people, we've had to do some exercises, like when we were drawing in groups and stuff. It was really funny, but it's a whole other ballgame to do something with a group of people and then interact creatively. Not just creatively, but spontaneously, and to tap into... I just realized now that's literally the title of the class, like the creative impulse of it, and just go with it and not only not restrain it, but more specifically not censor it. We in that exercise we didn't have time to censor it, or think like this is weird, or I don't know what to draw or do next, and I don't want people to judge me. Like there's no time for any of that.
I really like the aspect of not being in control and just kind of seeing like where something goes when like everyone's mind just kind of runs with it.
That kind of like opened my eyes up to like how effective we can be in groups when we're trying to do creative things like that.
Somebody would draw a line and you would like start envisioning in your head, and somebody else would draw a line and it kind of ruined it, and you start envisioning it, and someone else would draw a line, and then as it was starting to come together, right before it was your turn, you're like watching this person because you have to think about what you're gonna draw, and you're like thinking in your head, you're like, put the line there and then mine will work, and they don't, and it's just like...
I think it was interesting doing some group work. I think that was really fun, and being able to see where different people were taking it. I think it was cool just kind of seeing how other people's minds worked in relation to mine. So I really liked the group project things.
But everybody got a different mind, right? Like you look at stuff in a different angle. Even really, they can do it that way. Wow, it's all about like exploring, like combining everybody's mind, but without organizing it, it's just going everywhere. But it's fantastic.
Things can like change so easily by another person's input or another person's like kind of twist.
So one thing that directly applies to what we did with the drawing of that is being able to let go of what you were wanting at the beginning, and because in order to work with another partner, and especially in that drawing exercise, you have to forget about what you are expecting it to be and what you want it to be, and you have to kind of go with the flow. And
Their interaction with other people, not just in their own little bailiwick, I think it will change. I think that's important.
One of the biggest takeaways is that every single person, when they come to a table, they come with their own experience, they come with their own background, they come with their own upbringing, they come with their own culture, their own history, their own thoughts, feelings, their own emotions, their own mental illness or physical disabilities, everything. And it just really shapes who you are, so that there's no one person that's like someone else. And I think it's really important to note that when you want to work with other people.
I think that does translate to interactions outside. I mean, I guess it might maybe not stereotypically creative, how we think of creative, but still creative, because I think most interactions are creative. That maybe just being more receptive to the idea that when we are in collaboration, there's always that chance that somebody's going to take a statement that we say or an idea that we have and just take a totally different perspective on it. But having that completely different perspective might just be something we have to be open to, and then creatively adapt our initial plan to either include that or just change our opinion. So I feel like that activity does, it was a very specific way of doing so on paper with just lines and drawing, but that is exactly, I think, what a lot of people need to be better at in the real world, you know.
We interpreted it very differently than some of the other groups did, and I think that's just a testament to how like creativity is in general, because everyone takes it in so many different directions and stuff. Obviously everyone is going to have a different lens or perception of the world that's going on around them, and I think that was literally being experienced on the paper in front of us, but in real life or outside of that experiment, it's just important to like keep an open mind to everyone else's experience and keep them, like my line wasn't better than anyone else's line, and it wasn't like bigger or darker or, you know, more shaded or whatever. It was just a line, and I think that's the same with my perception. Like, it's not more important than anyone else's, it's just mine.
So there's a chance that they begin to see it's not just an arts class. Discovering the creative impulse, even hopefully the title is innocuous enough so they're not going to sing, oh gee, we're gonna have to write a piece of music here, or we're gonna have to paint something. That's not what this is all about, and I wish there was some way of broadcasting that. One of the things that helps the students to understand how wide, how big this world is of possibility is bringing in quotations from all walks of life. I don't care whether it's, again, politicians or football player or whatever it happens to be, that speak to the importance of creativity in their life.
And I also find it really helpful that we've studied a lot of like scientists and physicians in this class, which I didn't expect before. But just knowing those people, and if I read up on some of that stuff and used a lot of the creative skills that I've learned in this class, I'm pretty sure that would help me get through grad school in some way.
Consulting is one of the most creative jobs that there is for business majors. I don't know, probably anyone, because you get new problems every single day and everything's always changing, and you're incorporating like your own views into your team, and then there's like a counterpart team at the other company that you're working with, and there's just so many moving parts. And so it's like the only reason they bring in consultants is because something really hard and confusing is happening for them and they can't handle it. So the ability to like be able to work on that and use all these different projects and all the other experience and try to come up with like a solution that's actually going to work and not just move the problem elsewhere. I think that's so creative.
So now creativity for me is it's involved in a lot of my studies, because like everything I do, whether it be like proving some physical equation or using some like math thing, I see as creative in some way or another. You know, it's not necessarily what everybody thinks of creativity, but it is using our brains to show beauty in creation and in nature.
It's taking the time to understand yourself, and I really feel like only then can you move forward with doing what you want to do.
This class has helped me discover like how to bring creativity not just to music or art or whatever, but to every aspect of my life. And yes, I'm a heart major. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with my future. I know that I'll be able to bring creativity and so many things to whatever it is that I end up doing.
It actually works in my life. Just whenever I think about creativity, to think about follow the real myself, I made right decisions. I never regret. I will feel like even it's a failure, I followed my real thinking. It's real me. I will feel like I learned something. It's okay.
I play guitar, so I like to write lyrics and stuff too, and like chords and stuff to do that. And I feel like I've kind of gone away with that since college, because I feel like I'm just so busy during the school year, and I feel like taking this class made me want to pursue doing that again and like doing it more than what I have been doing. So
like if I'm writing or if I'm like making music or something, I don't know, I don't really share it like with anyone like that. I kind of just like to be alone with, you know, my mind and my thoughts, and that's fine. I'd say this class definitely forced me to, you know, kind of like find a way to express it and like put it out to people, which I definitely still need to work on.
It just helped me to be brave, to think through, think out of the box. It's sometimes like, I think we have the chance, we have the opportunity to spell out what we're trying to say. It's a really good practice that we can spell out what our mind is thinking into language and into expression to our work. You have to be brave to do that, but I think the class practices us this braveness.
My mind can take me anywhere I want it to go. And that's what I really hope for my students. They begin to see it doesn't make any difference whether it's a great poem, whether they can dance with Dancing with the Stars. That's not the point. The point is they are a creative being and they've got something to say, and I want to help them to find that voice. How many times have we come at creative process from different angles? We've hit it from all kinds of places. We've only, as I said last time, begun to scratch the surface of possibilities. I seriously thought about flunking all of you so I could have you all back next semester, and it wouldn't work. Scrap that. Because I feel strongly about that first statement. And as much as I have faith in every one of you and what you can possibly do and what you will become, I want you to always be honest with yourself. Always. Always. And because there is only one of you in all time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium, and it will be lost. So, my challenge to you is, don't let it be lost. On the first day of class, I said this whole thing, the class, the book, everything we've hit all semester long has been to encourage each one of you to discover what creative things you have inside, because I have a great deal of faith in each one of you and what you have to say. All of you have a voice, you gotta find it. And you will. And if you do that, then the whole semester has certainly been worth it. I want you to not be afraid of taking risks, to value complexity, and be open to the world of possibility. If I could not allow myself to be open to possibility, I'd shrivel.
Thanks again.
And I don't want that to happen to any of you. I can't thank you enough for the semester. Go and make the world a better place.
I'm like right now getting ready to sell like my textbooks for this semester, and I'm like, I'm not selling this one.